Hey everyone, hopefully you're just coming into the webinar now. I can see everyone joining in. Got quite a few of you today, which is awesome. Means that Cam has to deliver quite a good session.
Oh, no pressure. No
Bit of
pressure.
pressure, just a little bit, just the right amount of pressure.
Exactly. Full transparency. My wife gave birth last night. So if
Oh
I look a
really?
bit
Oh wow,
worse for wear,
congratulations.
yeah, that'd be because we had a newborn last night. So
Oh amazing, congratulations, mate.
no, all good, all good. But got to commit, make sure to give people what they want.
Exactly, yeah. That's what the important thing is always, isn't it? Leads.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Um, so hey guys, yeah. So I think most people should be coming in that were in the waiting room now. It does take people a little while to jump in, but we'll get started in a few minutes properly. But so I'm Julian. I'm a partner manager here at Buildxact. I look after all of the people that look after builders, basically. So that's CAM, that's estimators, that's Hazuko, that's all up to master builders. Um, and yeah, what we try and do ideally is try and get you in front of the best possible people that we think in the industry and people that specialize with builders. That's the main thing. I always say this is like there's so many people out there that just try and do everything. And if you work with a lot of builders, you have a very different view than someone that works with, hospitality, trade, manufacturing, retail, etc., etc. Um, so I won't take Cam's thunder, but this session is really just about helping you with your marketing, helping you getting leads through the door. That is always something that people are focusing on. It's always something that we hear people say, lead numbers are great, but good leads and my target leads are really what I want. So we try and run these kind of sessions, once or twice a year. We did one in Christmas with Cam, which I thought was great. And he's really good at breaking down the simple things. And I was saying this to Craig before Cam joined. People in marketing sometimes they like to overcomplicate things and add new little words in. And I'm like, even at work, I'm like, what does this word mean? Like someone in the marketing has said it to me. So this is like kind of hopefully Cam will not over simplifying what I'm saying here, but
No, no, you're good.
stripping it all back and kind of giving you the basics and the step throughs rather than this giant overarching strategy that's going to take you, months and months to implement. But before I bring in Cam, Craig, do you want to say a bit of a hello from Hazuko?
Yeah, g'day guys. So I look after the Australian business of Hazuko, everything commercial related. So I'm certainly across marketing, lead gen, conversions, and the like. So this should be a good discussion. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for joining, mate. And just want to do a shout out, obviously, Hazuko for bringing some of their customers in. There was a bunch of Mitre 10 customers that also got the email from the different stores. So I really appreciate all the Mitre 10 stores sending that out. And kind of what I said there, what we're trying to do here is just trying to educate the industry. And whether that's for Mitre 10, for Buildxact, whatever, Hazuko, the more the industry is educated and the more their business thrives and succeeds, the better it is for every single person in the industry, all the way down to apprentices trying to join in, right? So this is the whole purpose of this. We're trying to give you educational content. There's no giant Buildxact sell in here, come and use our software, any of that sort of stuff. It's just purely on the areas that we're trying to help you in. So that's just, like I said, why we bring in people like Cam. So on that note, Cam, do you want to say a bit of a hello?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So good to be here, everyone. Like I don't know if you caught before. Last night had a new baby join the family. So if I look worse for wear, or if I slur or stutter, that'll be why. But otherwise, want to really bring as much value today as possible. Not a pitch, not trying to sell you guys anything, but instead trying to break down sort of the marketing concepts into easy pieces. And as much as you need to understand how it all works and how it all comes together. Today, I wanted to bring in a few things that just work really, really impactful so that you can actually take it away and implement these things. And so I've got a couple of strategies that'll take you less than 30 minutes to generate some work. And then we can talk about a few other concepts which will be a little bit bigger and more sort of ongoing consistent. So just on that note, want to make sure as we get as much engagement as possible. I don't know if you guys, know much or little about it, but I don't like the sound of my own voice, and I want to hear as much from you guys as possible too. So, if we could maybe just get the chat going, if you guys could
Yeah,
find the
yeah.
chat bar down the bottom, let us know where you're tuning in from today, and we can do some shout outs.
Yeah, I reckon there'll be probably a split between A and Z. There'll be some US. Yeah, just as I said that. Yeah, Austin,
Perfect. A lot of Melbourneites kicking around, eh?
Brizzy, Port Macquarie, Rotorua. Oh, two from Rotorua. I'm trying to read the chat as it's like
Pushing up, yeah.
Tamworth, Gloucester. Oh, yeah,
Happy days. A few familiar names in there as well.
Yeah, I'm noticing a few people here.
Awesome. I love it.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, quite a wide spread.
All right.
And if I jump in, Cam, if it's all right here, just before you start, Frankston is where I just left Frankston 6 weeks ago. I moved to Brisbane. If you can just pop in, what are you guys trying to get out of today? What you want to achieve? What you'd like to achieve? What got you joining? I'm not sure if I was taking your question there, Cam, but I thought
No, you're good.
In case you started the content.
Definitely. Because obviously everything works, and I think that that's kind of the thing that people overlook. You know, everybody does things a little bit differently. If you sent out, you know, 500,000 postcards to every person who lived in the city, I'm sure that you'd get some hits from it. But what we want to do is try and match up the strategy that's most applicable for where you guys are at. So yeah, perfectly. What do we got here? Getting new leads from new builds, renovations, here to absorb, AI. Yeah, interested to see this from a builder's perspective. New website, cool. So all things marketing, having a marketing plan, stronger leads, awesome. So just on this, I work with builders only, and I've worked with guys who are, you know, doing 20 kitchens a month, right, all the way through to those doing 2 custom homes a year. And so even within the same space, things can be wildly different as far as the strategy that you need to kind of get people coming through as well. So really good to get some understanding of what you guys are looking for. And if you have any questions throughout, you know, as we're going, please chuck them in. Feel free to stop. We'll stop and start a few times. Want to make this as sort of hands-on as possible, and hopefully there's a few of you sitting down in front of a computer, but I know that there'll be a few who are on the go as well. And so with the replay and the resources, you guys can get involved in this after the fact as well to get the most out of it. So anything else, Julian, Craig?
There was a couple of people, I think, asking about the notes for here. Have you got an AI tool on this meeting, Cam?
Normally I do, but I don't know if it's in here or not because it's a webinar. But
yeah, and you came up saying talk to Firefly at the top, so I wasn't sure if that was a Zoom thing. It's the first time I've seen it come up on a webinar. But
that looks like Matt's got it sorted. Matt's got the Fireflies, so everyone hit up Matt for the notes after this, and I can stop taking notes. No, so this is recorded. We'll have the full notes obviously broken down after we get the recording together, and I'm sure Julian and the team will have that available afterwards. But also, you're welcome to have all the slides. I've also got everything together on a page so that it's in one place, and you know, we can sort of connect after this to answer any questions you might have or continue the conversation if that makes sense. So yeah, perfect. Matt's got it sorted. I love it. Nice one. But without further ado, I guess let's jump into things. I'm going to go pretty fast through a few of these things because, again, I want to make sure that it's, you know, we cover a little bit of theory and the how and the why, but ultimately just get into doing some stuff that's going to make it work for you guys, okay? So just before we kick in, this whole thing is around, you know, filling in the rest of your 2025 pipeline, okay? But ultimately, this stems through, you know, the sales process you guys have is so long that obviously what we do now impacts next year and beyond as well. So typically what we see as leads come through is about half of them will actually be good, but they're just not ready, okay? And I think it's quite sort of misunderstood is that a lot of people say, I don't have the right leads, which does happen. But you just need to understand that not everybody is going to come through with plans, you know, ready to click go and say yes. And so as the environment shifts and AI and all these other things, we just want to make sure that we're sort of tackling the here and now and trying to obviously get work now, but also looking at how we can do this going forward and filling up the future pipeline, which will make your business a lot more stable going forward, okay? So why should you listen to me? Been doing this a long time. I spent 6 years before this coaching builders. And so the biggest issue we had is, hey, Cam, this all sounds great, but I don't have time to do it. And so I just started doing it for guys, and that's worked out really well. But ultimately, I've seen into the back end of some of the big franchise builders, some of the smaller guys, anywhere in between. And so I know kind of what works and what doesn't work across different industries. And just last month alone, we generated about 2,500 leads for the people that we're working with. And so have a big data set on what's working and what's happening in the industry right now. Okay. So what we're going to cover today, how to set clear goals, identifying your ideal client. Okay. Crafting a message, choosing marketing channels, writing effective ad copy, and action plan creation. Now, I'm going to go off tangent a little bit on some of these, and we'll skip through some faster and take a bit more time on others, because a lot of this stuff, and I know that AI is a big topic, so I want to actually address that as well. Everything that you do in life is about context, right? And so whether you are handing off instructions to the apprentice and they come back and they've done the wrong thing, 9 times out of 10, it's because they didn't have the right context or the right instructions. Same thing for your marketing and using AI and all these other things as they come forward. Shit in equals shit out, right? And so the more context, the more background we can start off with in the beginning makes everything more effective. And that's why we're covering off some of these things today, okay? So when a lot of people do their marketing, they don't necessarily know where they're going. They don't know what the goalpost is. Or maybe they don't know what their ideal client looks like. And so they're putting out messages to people that are never going to convert. I started working with a guy 2 days ago, looking through his existing stuff. A previous marketing company had done a really great job of doing this ebook and guide and everything else. But the topic that it covered was something along the lines of why your teenagers need more space in your home, which, is a valid topic. But if you know anything about your market, they probably care about the opinion of their teenagers, but that's not the core reason why they're actually looking to build or extend a house. And so getting the fundamentals right means that everything else that you do is going to be a lot more effective, okay? So if you guys want to follow along, we'll just exit out of here and hopefully you guys can still see my screen. I've put everything together at contractorscale.com/buildxact, okay? And all of these resources that we talk about are going to be on this page here, okay? So that you can follow along, you can interact with all of them, you can download the bits and pieces, etc. And then what I spoke with Julian about a couple of months ago is doing a bit more of a deep dive or a boot camp into some more of the fundamentals and, expanding a bit more of the back end of this. We've also got a community that we put together as well. So after this, group.contractorscale.com, and hit the sign up button in here, free, we can continue the conversation in here, etc. And this is going to have both conversation avenue and some course material that you can go through, which will be coming through a bit more after this, okay? So all the resources are going to be there for you guys to rip in. And if you have any questions along the way, again, feel free to sing out. So there we go, that's them there. So first things first, looking at how this all fits together from a 30,000 foot view, okay? Now, the trickiest thing is trying to explain these kind of concepts and how they all tie together to, the everyday man. And I've done this 100 different ways. So I'll show you a few of those in just a second. This is probably the most simplistic way I could show you how people flow through the system, I guess, or the ideal way that people come together. But we're going to be looking into just little bits and pieces of this today. But this is sort of everything that you need to make your marketing effective. So if we're looking at the sort of the top left here, we've got organic search or SEO, common term that people talk about, or people that try to sell you SEO services. Works really well, but something that's going to work for you longer term, not going to help you right now. But we still want to gather those people there. Bottom left, we've got Google Ads, we've got social media, we've got referrals. We sort of got everything in here as far as how people come through. But what I just wanted to show you is how they flow through. So everything points down into the middle here, into these diamonds, which is essentially a way to sort, filter, and manage those people.
I can.
And then,
You might just want to zoom in a tiny bit because I've got a big screen and it's quite far out even for me. So just
yeah,
if you've got an ability to zoom,
I will see if I can zoom it in. Let's do this.
maybe on this page, yeah, just for this one.
Yeah, perfect. How's that?
Yeah, perfect now, yeah.
Cool. So not necessarily too much in here that you need to understand other than it all needs to work together, okay? And so when you piecemeal it as well, it can get a bit tricky to understand why it's not working. And it's because, all of these things, like I said before, do work, but you get the best effect when all of these things work together. Okay, so whether that's the website, your SEO, your Google Ads, your social media, your whatever else, they all need to come together into a system that ultimately helps you to capture, to grade, to filter, and then to nurture on the back end as well. Okay, now let me just jump into this other one here, because again, another concept around how it all works. Most people think about this in terms of, are we going to be covering off Google Ads, right? No. Are we going to be covering off, social media? No. Now, all of these things there are called lead generation, and that's getting people into your world, basically. How do you get more attention from people? That's typically where people stop, and I think that's probably one of the biggest issues that we have in the industry, is that if you're a dentist, if you're a plumber, if you're, something else that has a shorter sales cycle, that's fine. Get a lead in, deal with them. If they're gonna, turn into money, that's great. And if they don't, typically the sales process is only a couple of weeks long max. Because building a home, renovating, extending takes so long for people to make a decision and go through that sales process, we need to make sure that we're doing everything else in our power to create efficiencies in the process so there's no wastage. And that's where a lot of these things come into place with lead nurture, okay, and lead conversion. So ultimately, yes, can we get the leads coming through? But of those that come through, how can we keep them warm? How can we, educate them, nurture them, help them understand what the process looks like? And then how can we convert them at a higher rate and everything else? Okay, so there is a lot of bits and pieces that come together. And like I said before, for example, Google Ads is just one small thing on this entire sort of picture, I guess you'd call it. But you need to understand that everything needs to work together, and you don't need to do all of it at once. But typically what we'd do is install one piece from here, one piece from here, one piece from here, one piece from here, and work your way around the circle until you've got something that works for you. And then expand upon it and keep going around until you've got all the bits and pieces in place, okay? Don't make things too complicated. Don't try and do everything at once. Just follow a couple of things until you know it's working and then move on to the next one. So just wanted to touch on this one because obviously there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But we'll skip back into here and make sure that we're staying on track. So now that my Zoom's all broken, let's do this. So first things first, setting clear goals. Let's chuck into the chat here. Does anybody know their targets as far as their marketing budget or the number of leads that they need to hit their goals? Give me a yes or a no into the chat box. Or if you're really good, give us a number that you're trying to hit. Okay. Got a couple of hands up. A lot of no's. That's okay. 72. Cool. No. Yes. No. Okay. Cool. So this is typically where we start. And again, if you don't know where you're going to, you're going to get lost. And so what we need to figure out is exactly what you need to have coming in, because then that's going to dictate the strategy that you use to attract these people. Okay. And if you want to jump into that link, I've got some examples here that you can steal and rob and deploy, make things much easier. But what it looks like is a spreadsheet just like this, okay? And so I'm not going to go through this one too in depth because everyone's going to be a little bit different, but I just wanted to point out a couple of things, and I'll leave you to do this in your own time. There are two columns here, kind of where you're at now and where you're looking to get to. And as you adjust these things, there are a few leverage points. Everything in yellow are those leverage points, okay? So for example, if you double the revenue of the business, but you keep your average contract size the same, you're going to end up with more work, which equals more clients, more headaches, that kind of thing. But if you increase the average dollar sale and do bigger jobs and everything else, then it's going to make sure that you're not overwhelmed, not stressed with too much extra going on. Same thing for your conversion rate. If you do better at sales with doing nothing else, then you're going to make the whole thing more efficient and you're going to do much better for it. Okay. So have a play with this one afterwards. Again, there's an explainer in the group resource that I'm going to share with you. But if you just jump into here into the /Buildxact, there's a Google sheet you can use and just go file, make a copy, and then it's yours to basically play around with. right? So this in turn is going to give you a couple of key numbers, right? So let's just use the same example here. Going from 1.5 to 2 million, right? Increasing our average dollar size a little bit more. Zoom in here so you can see it. The numbers that we're looking for here are a couple of things. Is this total number of leads generally per month is going to be the number that we want to figure out, okay? This is going to give you a leading indicator of are you doing well or not? Because what ends up happening is people end up in this roller coaster situation where this month they get a couple of leads, all is going well. Then next month and the following month they get nothing. And then, hey, they sign a job and then they forget about marketing for the next 6 months. And then they come to the end of the job and they go, oh, shoot, I need to sign something. And they kind of go through this process of a roller coaster. Now, if you just know, for example, that I need 16 or 17 leads a month, and you consistently do that each and every month, sure, there'll be fluctuations, plus and minus a wee bit. But if you can have that consistency, you know that next month you're going to have a few good site visits. Then you're going to do some pricing. Then these people are going to obviously drop down a bit as we filter them through. But it means that you're going to have a really consistent workload all the way through instead of I could give you 200 leads tomorrow, but there's a lot of them are going to go to waste. Okay, and you're going to be slammed doing each of those things, phone calls, site meetings, all that kind of stuff as you move along. So this is probably the key one to understand is what are you trying to hit on a monthly basis, and then have that somewhere in front of you or print this sheet off so you know what you're trying to hit. And then ultimately make sure that you're making money as well. So chuck your margin in here and things like that. You'd be astounded. Well, Julian probably wouldn't be, but be astounded the amount of people who are pricing themselves too low. And ultimately, it doesn't matter if you are doing more work, if you are, you're basically pricing yourself into a lot of hard work, a lot of stress, and making no money. And then the downside of that as well is if you look at this number down the bottom, it's called return on ad spend. And it means for every dollar you put in, how many dollars do you get back? And if you follow this first scenario here, you might put $1 in and you'll only get $3 back. That's not a sustainable way to do any marketing. And ultimately, it's going to put you into a black hole of why is my marketing not working? And it's not necessarily a marketing issue. It's because you don't have enough money coming out the other end to create a flywheel effect of making marketing happen for you. Okay, so yes, it is about getting more leads, but you need to make sure that everything else is sound as well. Your sales process, okay, your pricing, your margin, that sort of thing. Make sure it's all consistent on the way through, and obviously Buildxact can help you with that. But just get the fundamentals right, and then obviously as you turn the taps up on the marketing, it's going to help to increase that flywheel effect. Okay.
What I'd recommend, guys, if you watch this video or recording back, maybe just have that sheet open when you watch this section back, and then just kind of fill it in, listening to the subtle sounds of
the soothing sounds. Yeah. No.
Now, I think it's so important. That's one of the big struggles in our business is the ebbs and flows of pipeline. Particularly for our sales team, and it's a real challenge to keep a consistently sustainable pipeline. You got to juggle a lot of balls. You got to do everything right, and I think that's where having a plan. And I'm sure you're going to go through this, but having a plan is the key to this. You can't just wake up one day and go, well, I think today I'm going to get leads. Tomorrow, I'll probably do some sales, and I think leads next week at some point. We'll see how we go. Like it needs to be factored in and planned in advance, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it's the same as anything, right? You kind of keep things consistent. Like most people start something and then they give up, or they start something and it works and then they stop doing it for some reason. If you just keep doing the activity, you're going to end up with the result. Okay, but you need to make sure that you're putting in the reps at the gym so that you can look as strong and masculine as Julian. Okay, perfect. Okay, just one other thing on this is I'm going to share this one really quickly. We track and manage every lead that comes in for every person that we work with. And I just wanted to show you two columns here, which again might be a bit small, but this one's just a live dashboard and I can't really zoom in too much. But we have two columns here that we're looking at primarily is quality grade, okay? Is this lead an A, B, C, or a D? Basically, is it a slam dunk? Like, is it one that you need to get onto quickly, or is it someone that you can ignore? So the first thing is getting leads, then looking at the quality of them all and everything. Okay. So that's kind of the primary thing we're looking at. But most of the time, it is atrocious how many people do not contact their leads. Okay. And so that's why we have this other column here for sales grading. Now, what this one picks up on is essentially your time to respond to a lead. Okay, so if someone comes through, are you leaving them for 3 days before you reach out? In which case, do you really think that they're going to work with you? And then you're going to go, oh, these leads don't work, or nobody picks up the phone. Well, of course, nobody's going to pick up the phone if you talk to them 2 or 3 days later. So getting to them quickly is really important. The other thing is a primary one is number of touch points. And so if you try someone once and they don't pick up the phone, do you try them again? Okay. There is a Harvard business study that basically went through and went, what are the primary things we need to do? In a perfect world, get to leads within 5 to 15 minutes. Okay. And there's some other ways you can do that without needing to be stuck to your phone all day. And then the second thing is follow-up attempts, and they recommend 6 to 7 times following up the same person before you write them off or before you kind of ignore them. If you do those things really well, that's most of the job done. But for example, it is crazy the amount of times you will get like a B grade lead and the sales grade will be D because hey, we never picked up the phone, or we forgot this person came through, or we got to them 4 days late, or whatever else. And so really important that you're doing those things there to make sure that you're making use of the marketing as well. Okay. Any questions so far? Feel free to chuck them in the chat. Otherwise, I will
That
carry
tool
on.
that you had there, Cam, is that your one, or is that something people can go in and use?
No, so that one is a back end sort of tracking dashboard that we use. The way that we work with people is we set them up their own CRM system to manage everything. And then we kind of aggregate that and grade a few things throughout the process on how many times we're called and all these other things. Um,
So
because,
so
sorry,
ultimately, people need to be having some sort of lead scoring
yeah,
in terms of those leads, and not just having them all
yep,
sit in an Excel sheet where they're pasting them in or something, and you know.
yeah, exactly. And so if you want to do this manually, you can. And this is where I'm going to jump in and look at some of my favorite tools here. Let's do this
I
one.
probably took away your lead in there, did I?
No, no, you're good. You're good. It stems into a really good point. Is, setting up a system like that takes time and effort and everything else. And if you don't have that ability, let's say that you get a lead come through and it just comes through as an email notification or something like that from your website. What you can do is you can come into here to ChatGPT or something similar, okay? And you can just do this manually. I used to have someone on the team look at every lead that came through and give it a grade A, B, C, or D. And the first thing is that took that person basically the entire day to grade all the leads and everything, and it was not an effective use of time. But the second thing is they were terribly inconsistent, okay? Whereas with some of the technology we have today, this does an amazing job of it. And so all you need to do is ignore all of these, people that talk about long-winded instructions, that kind of thing. You can say, I am a builder in Auckland. I want you to grade this lead for me from my website. All right. Name John Smith, address 1 Queen Street, Auckland. Whatever they filled out in the form, just paste it into here. Details, home, addition, 100 square meters, etc. And who knows what this is going to return because, this is clearly just an example, but it will come back to you and say, hey, this is a B grade lead, because of these reasons, right? And so if you don't have anything like that, you can always, set up or do this manually through here, but otherwise there's other ways you can track and grade the people on the way through really well. The thing that's a bit trickier to do is keep tabs on yourself as far as your sales ability and that kind of thing, because that's generally the hardest piece. And so again, that system, what we do, main reason we have that one is because I got sick of people hearing that the leads were not, responding, or the leads are not working. We had a guy who had a 1,000,003 custom home come through, and we spoke about it on our next meeting, and he said, "Oh no, that one didn't go anywhere." So, oh, awesome. How, what did it look like? Oh, I tried calling them and they didn't pick up the phone. Oh, okay. Did you try them again? He goes, "Oh, it sounds pretty dumb now that you say that out loud." Okay. So people are people, you get busy, right? I'm guilty of this as well. But make sure you're basically doing the fundamentals. Okay.
Cam, if you're about to go through this, just tell me to shut up. But
No, you're good.
I noticed there that the response from ChatGPT gave you some additional fields to how to make it an A grade client. Um, and again, I might be going into exactly what you're saying, so apologies if I am. But
Nope.
I'm guessing obviously the more you ask and the more you qualify in your website, the more that comes through, the more you're going to be able to get more accurate information from the AI tool.
Correct. So let's jump back into that example because it's a really good question. This one here. So here's what Julian's talking about. What's missing for A grade confidence? Doesn't mention anything about budget, timeline, decision maker checking, design stage, etc. So this all comes down to how you're capturing the information. Now, this is on an axis or whatever you want to call it, a seesaw of if you try to get too much information up front, people are going to get bored or they're not going to fill out the form. Like, when's the last time you did a mortgage application, right? You look at the form that they give you and you're like, oh man, that looks like hard work. But on the flip side, if you've only got name, email, and phone number on the form, and then you don't get any description of the work, or you don't have their budget, or you don't even know if they're in the right location, it's going to be really tricky for you to actually grade that person and understand if you should even be following them up. So typically what we want to do here is if we go into diagram number 78 that I've tried to explain this concept, we want to look at type of work, right? So asking people details of the project, telling them like free text, trying to get them to answer, just, blurt something out onto a page. Tell us what you're trying to achieve. Area, okay? What location are you in? Generally, if you ask people the address, you'll get mixed results. But if you just ask them for the suburb, you'll get most of them fill out the form. And at least you know how far away they are. Because if there's a custom home that comes through and it's 45 minutes away, you might want to talk about that one. Whereas if it's just a little kitchen reno or something, then you probably, won't respond compared to if they were 10 minutes down the road. So understanding the area on the form that you gather the info, timing when you're looking to get started, and then this last one here is measuring responsiveness or texting them quickly and if they text back sort of thing. So ignore that one there. The way that we typically do it is we have multi-step forms. Just trying to, let me do this. We have online estimates as one of the way that we get people through. Now ignore the specifics of it here, but the format of the field of the survey form or the form in general here is really important. So there is a multi-billion-dollar company called Typeform, and the only thing that they do in business is they turn a web form into a multi-step form, okay? Because it works and it helps people to answer more questions. Now, if you can have people do this one by one, they're more likely to fill out the form. So if you put 1,000 fields on the page, no one's going to fill it in and you'll get no leads. Whereas if you have two shorter details, you're not going to get enough info. How can we have a hybrid approach? Well, we ask questions one at a time. My addition extension is outwards or upwards, right? Does it include this? Does it include this? At the end of it, right, we get all the details and stuff on where we're sending their info and so on and so forth. So just a little hack here on how you can get more qualification information from people, all right, level of quality. If they choose economy, typically you can say, sorry, man, we're not the cheapest. Are you the authorized property owner? When are you looking to get started, right? I have selected a designer architect. I have plans. I have finance. My budget is, etc., etc. So hopefully that helps as far as the right way to capture the information, I guess. Yeah, if you get the right balance, I guess it all works really well.
Yeah, I think just some like real world examples of that working. Like I did a car, I got just a new car recently, did a car insurance thing, and then they ask you to fill all the fields in, and I'm like, I don't really want to put my I don't really want to put my phone number in. I don't really want to contact me. I'll just fill the forms out, and it definitely wouldn't have done it at the very beginning of all the different fields they asked me to do because it was like a next year. I'm like, how much more can it be? And then eventually you get to it and it asks you your phone number, and you're like, ugh. I was like, all right, I'll just put it in anyway. But that's
Yeah.
that's obviously the way that they try and get people like me that
Yeah.
don't put their details into contact, and then they make you do all that stuff, and at the very end they make you
You're committed, right?
you're committed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, perfect example. Nice one. Colby asked, what's the name of that form? Tons of companies that do it. Typeform was the name of the company that I mentioned, but Jotform, Google Forms, pretty much any form capture thing can do it now. It's just the difference of having a form versus a multi-step form. Okay. Cool. So let's just whiz through a couple of these next ones, and then I'll get you guys to do an example because this is one of the most helpful things I think a lot of people got last time we ran through this. Let me share this one here. So your ideal client profile. In order to do any good marketing, we need to know who you are, what makes you special, so about you, okay? The other thing we need to know is who are we marketing to, okay? And this is what your ideal client profile is, or your customer avatar, I guess you'd call it. Now, a lot of people, they'll make you sit there and go through a worksheet and spend 5 hours kind of going back and forth around, you know, what magazines do they read and where are they located and what do they do for a job, which, you know, ultimately is really boring to do. And again, we have technology for this. So I put together a web form here where you can go through and you can get one generated for yourself. Okay. So if you go to contractorscale.com/buildxact, this is embedded on the page. Fill in your details so that we understand locations and all of that kind of specific. And then of the type of work that you're looking for, okay, and the more detail you give, the better. Obviously, if you just write bathroom renovations, it's not very helpful, though it will still give you a result. If you can say we're looking for, you know, empty nesters who are looking to build their dream home and they love the fine things in life and blah blah blah, just do it as much as possible. Then what it'll spit out, and check your spam box for this one, full disclaimer, is it'll send you back this ideal client profile, okay? And so this gives you demographics, psychographics, emotional drivers, key decision-making factors, goals and challenges, all these other things, all right? To basically give you the information on who you should be targeting. So instead of then trying to advertise to everybody, you can just know that I'm advertising to people in the range of 30 to 55, primarily couples, right? Both male and female decision makers, upper to middle class to high income, college education or higher, professionals, executives, etc. Blah, 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 right? It could go on for ages. But I just wanted to just give that to you so that you have something to work from. So just scroll down on the page here and just fill in this one. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to do that while I bang through a couple of other examples. Now, if you save that, okay, and you use that for the same example back here, to be honest, grading leads. If you say, I'm a builder in Auckland and I want you to grade this lead for me, context, right? Gives you an okay answer. Instead, if you tell people or if you tell AI all of this information about what a perfect, you know, buyer looks like for you, it'll give you feedback on, again, who that person is and what they've filled out and everything else. Now, what we're doing in the back end is a very similar thing, as we know this client has this lead come through. And let's just take a look at an example here. This, I mean, we can just look through a couple of them, but I just wanted to find one that makes the most sense. Cool. So this lead was graded an A because they clearly articulated their project needs for a living room extension, potential fourth bedroom study from their enclosed deck, driveway widening. There is significant renovations that align well with the company and the services that they offer. They were upfront about their budget, stating that they hoped to stay under 150,000. Now, interesting here that it's also taken in context around they hoped to stay under, right? If someone writes that on the form, it's very different to saying our budget is 150,000. So it picks up on so many little nuances that you never will. And again, that's why we want to use the tool. So again, looking at this here, you know, this one is graded really well because it's only a 6-minute drive, etc., etc. So has anybody gone through that? I'll just chuck the link into there again, just in case there is. I got it. Thanks, Julian. Cool. So I'll let you guys run through that one. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to chuck them in the box, or we can maybe unmute a couple if you had any questions on it. Otherwise, I will keep ripping through. We don't need to necessarily discuss your results on this. It's more for something to, you know, the exact type of person you should be targeting. And I'm sure that you guys have one of these as well, Craig and Julian, for your company.
Yeah, I think what's important as well, Cameron, I'm not sure if you're going to go through this, but it's all good having this ideal customer profile, but I think your value proposition has to be set up to service that customer as well. It's no
Yep.
good you saying, I want to, I want to service high end, custom homes to the value of X, where really you're currently doing bathroom renovations, for instance, and maybe not set up for that. So I think aligning those two things is important. For us, Hazuko, we specialize in residential. There's no point in us having a dream of servicing the commercial sector because we're not set up to do it.
Yeah, you did on, and that's exactly right. That's the sort of the third piece of what we're going to take a look at in brief is what makes you special. So, without further ado, we'll jump into it. Dallas, what was the type form qualification form you used? If you mean the one on the page, that's just the system that we use internally. It's just a CRM with a form builder on it. But again, will work the same as every other tool out there.
Just to cut you off there, Cam, before you jump in. Just while Cam was talking there, guys, I just ran a ChatGPT prompt to ask about the benefits of multi-step forms versus long forms. And yeah, it's saying a conversion increase of 20 to 60%. I then prompted it again to say, can you actually go and create me all the fields that you think I should answer and the options I should put in there? It's done all that for me. So again, this is kind of just adding into Cam's AI point of all the little things that you can do. And you can actually just not just giving you the information, you can then re-prompt it to say, hey, give me the takeaway information that I can just copy and paste in. And that's kind of what I've done in here. It's very, very quick and easy to do. So just get kind of familiar with that. Like if I've got in here, I put copy and paste it for me and it goes, okay, what type of project you put in? It's giving me all the options. It's giving me all the things about budgets. It's giving me all the options of timelines, etc., etc. So yeah, just kind of get familiar with that kind of stuff with AI. Just give it more information, more information. So instead of just putting a builder, I'm a custom new home builder, high-end project, da 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 da. So your lead scoring is going to be based on the actual project you're trying to source, because a small kitchen reno might be a really high lead scoring for some person, but it might be a bottom of the barrel for someone else.
Definitely. Perfect. All right, guys. And Daniel mentioned, would this work for landscape design? Yeah, 100%, man. And the tool itself, you could use it if you're a butcher on the side of the street. Like, it's still going to give you your ideal client info there. It's designed to just work for anyone, but obviously in this case, it's tailored towards the construction industry. So, just going to rip through here. This was just more examples of what would come through from filling out that form, but you guys are going to obviously get an example of that sent through to yourself as well. Some of these other things that might be of note, though, is psychological triggers, which will come into some of the ads and things that you do later on, is how can you actually market to this person really well? Well, you can show authority with certifications and industry awards. You can show social proof with customer testimonials and case studies, etc. So again, just save it. You'll use it in a later example. The next thing is exactly what we just kind of talked about, was what makes you special, your unique selling proposition. Now, this is obviously probably a bigger topic to dive into because everyone's a little bit different. But in general, most builders, most people in the industry, we need to cover off these 5 things. Okay, so if a client is looking to make a decision on whether you're a good fit versus Johnny down the road, they're mentally considering some of these things. Budget, right? How much is it going to cost? Are you charging me a premium versus them? Is he the cheaper guy? All these other kind of budget questions. Timeline, communication, trustworthiness, quality of workmanship. And so the more we can cover off these 5 angles, the better we can do in our marketing. This one here is really important, and it's amazing how many people don't sort of click onto this, is what not to do. It's not about we or us, us, us. At the end of the day, nobody cares about you, okay? Which is, brutal, I thought I was the most special person in the world. But at least my mum did anyway. But it's all about your clients, what they're looking for, and solving their problems, okay? So there we go. Nobody cares about you. They care about themselves. So the more that you can give them what they want, the better you will come across in your marketing, okay? Definitely something you should write down. Now, these ones here I've saved onto the page as well, so you can use them for later reference. But just some questions you can ask yourself around what makes you guys special, is some of the stuff here. What makes you guys different? What's your approach to this compared to your competitors? How do you approach timelines? You know, do you have any additional perks that you provide or add value to client experience and so on, right? So we'll tap through these because you can just steal this example down here. On the page itself, you can scroll to the bottom and it's got all of these down here is customer centric examples, right? So you can use all of these. And again, if we go back to using our favorite friend here, AI, we say, I want to expand a bit more about what makes us special as a company. Can you use this question or list of topics below and ask me questions to interview me one at a time, and I can give you answers as to what makes us special. Just a little note there or hack there. Voice to text is amazing. And if we paste this list into here, essentially what it's going to do is treat this like an interview and go, you know, what's your customer experience like from the first inquiry to project completion? And it's going to ask you about specifics around what you guys do and so on and so forth. Now, you can probably rip through this in 5 minutes. Like, use this button down here, dictate, and you can just you say it out loud. Do it in the truck if you want as you're driving, and let the kind of software use the tool sort of interview you. And so what happens at the end is that it'll give you a full summary of what makes you guys special to then use in your marketing. Okay. All good on that? Cool. Let's continue.
I didn't even know it could do that. I didn't even know it could treat you as like an interview. So I'm learning stuff.
It's pretty amazing. And you know, this is a topic for another day, but I don't know how many people have a therapist. I've never had one, but AI can act as that as well. And so if you do the same process for your company, yourself, your challenges, your whatever else, it'll start to form a really good profile around your preferences, what you like, and all these other things. And so that when you have a question, the answer it'll give you is going to be really, really amazing because it's going to be perfectly tailored to what you are looking for. And this really comes down to a couple of things that happen in the future is there are a lot of people already using AI to answer the questions that they would have looked up on your blog. And they're going through that research phase themselves because if someone Googles or they find a blog saying, you know, what's the best way to do a home edition, that's pretty generic because it's going to cover off information relating to hundreds of thousands of people versus, you know, you ask that question and AI knows that you've got 2 kids, that you know, live this, that you work from home, etc. It's going to give you a really, really tight answer. And so, you know, there are other ways of even showing up as a company on ChatGPT as well. So,
sorry again, Cal, I'm doing a lot of cutting in here. Are you finding that are any people actually like giving this interview to their potential leads and saying, hey, just voice note responses back to this? Maybe that's like feels maybe it's a bit more personal or less personal. I don't know if either or, but maybe if you're getting people to voice note responses back to each of these questions and almost like an interview with the AI bot, maybe you're getting even better quality lead information.
yes and no. I guess people are lazy, and so if you ask somebody to fill that out a form for you, they'll probably say, "Oh, yeah, sure, I'll do it," and they never will. And maybe some of them will, which will be great. But what we found a better way to do this is, and if I just jump in here and find an example, um, and in the system that we use, the way that we're able to grade and give feedback on sales calls and that sort of stuff to help you improve is by capturing the information on the calls that you're having, right? And so you get so much. Sorry, Tana, it looks like you're getting caught up in my AI assistant, which is a conversation for another day on how you can respond to your leads without actually needing to respond. So I'm not actually texting you at the moment, although I'd love to. But if you capture the context around a phone call that you've had, it is amazing what you talk about on a phone call that you can capture in that same way. So let's say that we were to go back to that example, and maybe this would take too long to bring up for example's sake, but we were to grab the conversation that you had with a prospect who was a great fit. You could take that transcript, put it into ChatGPT again and go, here's a client that I had a meeting with who was a perfect fit. How can I get more people like this? And it'll break down some of the specifics in the conversation around what makes them different and all that kind of stuff. And so this whole thing's around context, right? And if you just asked me the question around, how can you help me how can I be better at marketing? I'd be like, well, tell me about yourself. Like context. Everybody needs context to do a better decision from. So having all of that available is really, really helpful.
So what does that look like, Cam? Is it Zoom meetings with a recording that you paste in? Is it having a phone recording if you're having that conversation in person? Is that the way to do it?
Let's do this. Because what you want to do is, I mean, you need to capture the information, which is typically where most people don't do. You could have a Zoom call. One of the guys on here has Fireflies recording the meeting. Okay. Once you finish the meeting, grab the transcript, put it into AI and say, hey, here's a meeting we just had. Can you help me take action on this so that I can implement it for my company? And it'll give you like an SOP or a walkthrough of helping you to implement what you learned really quickly versus waiting for the recording and all these other things, okay? Because you have context. If you can buy a little device like this, it's just basically a voice recorder. You can wear this and you can hit record. And when you go to site, you can capture the site meeting that you have with a client and you've just captured context. You could grab that context and put it into any system that you want and say, how did I do? Give me feedback as a sales coach. Okay. And it will help you do that. Or, hey, can you help me write a scope of work based off what we spoke about here? And it will do that very quickly. The thing I just mentioned, everybody loves that gadgets and James Bond type stuff. There are lots of these around. This is called Plaud, Plaud. Should get myself a referral code and try and make some money off them. The amount of times I recommended it is crazy. But there are lots of different things. All it does basically is voice record. So before you buy anything, just go onto your phone. Every phone has a notes app and tuck it in your pocket when you talk to somebody and just see if you actually use it and it'll capture the same context. Okay. So if we look at just one other way, that's just very manual, right? But you got to capture the context from a phone call, from a meeting, from a in-person thing. We're just doing this on a automated basis, okay? And so this one here was a sales feedback on one of the leads that came through. The conversation between Lisa demonstrates an exemplary consultative sales approach from initial contact through to the next step. It is graded A for the following reasons, okay? Great rapport and framing, multi-layered discovery. You ask lots of different questions around this, and this, okay? And this has so much to work from that it's obviously done a great job of giving feedback on it, but it works the same way as if you were to capture that, plug it into a system yourself and ask for feedback. It would do that for you. But context, right? I know we're going super deep here, Julian, so maybe we'll jump back on track, but was that helpful?
Yeah, that was good. I mean, I think it's a really useful thing just to have notes from conversations, even if it's not even about coaching. It's just to put into your own lead management, CRM, whatever it is, Excel sheet, using an Excel sheet to capture that in, because how much you remember from a phone call, and I do it all the time, like I forget half of the conversation and little key takeaway points.
Yep.
AI can do that. Just even just to simplify in 4 or 5 bullet points rather than going, oh yeah, this, just to have it, bam, it's in there. It's ready to go. Anyone can jump in your business if you're sharing that information, be able to see that. And obviously from a coaching point of view, it will help you just, and I'm not sure if even I do it, but some people just go, and I know I used to do it really badly. I probably still do it, but and now I'm really conscious of it. But just little things like that, I think that help people. And maybe could you have explained something in a better, in more deeper, because that was what the client was kind of asking. Maybe you misinterpret it and so on and so forth.
Yep, 100%. And even just after things that you do as well, how many times have you forgotten to do stuff? This one here has saved me a ton of deals. Is basically you jump off a call and it generates you a task that you need to follow up from. See, this one's got 2, this one's got 1. Because as you speak with people, maybe you promised that you'd send them an example of something, or maybe you'd promise that you'd meet them here or whatever else. And so just having those little things pop up after a meeting or whatever is super helpful. Cool. Yeah. A few questions around that. I'm happy to cover off some more of this stuff, maybe in the group later on or things like that. It's, I've probably gone deeper than a lot of other people into the actual use cases of AI for operations, but we'll stick to the script here of helping you guys make some more money. And we can do that really quickly. I've got a couple of quick fire things for you here. So this is what we all came for here, is how do we land more work quickly? Is we need to figure out, now that we've got who the client is that we're targeting and a bit about us, and we know kind of what we're offering, we need to know which channel to put things on, okay? Which is a common question people ask me, or, hey, I've got, you know, doing Google ads, or I'm doing SEO, whatever else. Again, they all work. The way that I approach it is basically looking at your pipeline and your cash flow, okay? If you are locked in to for the next 12 months, then you probably don't need to do any social ads or Google ads necessarily right now, unless you want to keep that consistency flowing through. But this is point number 3 here. I'm booked well in advance, but want to stay that way. Probably what you want to look at is organic SEO, or getting found on the first page of Google. The reason this one is lined up with this avenue here is because it takes a lot of time to get ranking at the top of that page. Generally 6 to 9 to 12 months, depending on how competitive the area is, right? If you have very little work ahead, that's point number 1, then I would typically go to social ads, because there is 0 barrier to entry. I've got a full template and everything, which you can swipe after this. You can set it up in about 20 minutes, okay? And it's most of the time will get you some leads coming through, right? Now, the reason that this one is layered here is because it does have a caveat to it, is that it will burn out and it will become non-effective. So it works really, really quickly, but it also, once it grabs the people, or grabs the attention of the people that you're advertising to, it'll become less effective, and you need to look at other strategies. And that's where we find the middle of the road here. I have some work but need to stack more ahead. If that's where you guys are sitting, then you typically want to focus on Google Ads or pay-per-click. And what that does is somebody types in Home Edition Builder Auckland, okay? If you can pop up and be the solution to that search query at the top of the page, you can do that really quickly. You can have conversations with people, but it is a paid avenue, obviously. So just so I get a gauge of where people are at, if you can chuck in the chat, do you think you're in position 1, 2, or 3? 1, 2, or 3. Okay, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1. Okay. So the majority of people in sort of position number 2, which is really cool, because the amount of people out there who are having jobs pull out, that kind of thing, and end up with nothing much ahead of them is really challenging. And, you know, as much as you like to pull a unicorn out of a hat, it's really hard to find a really decent job really quickly that's, you know, ready to go. So that old adage of when's the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, or whatever it goes. Same time with your marketing, is if you can get it going and have it working for you consistently, if you're in position number 2, you can then start to stack some work on the back end of it and just keep people flowing through and starting that process there, okay? So I'll show you what that looks like on the next page, but basically just keep in mind what number you're at as far as what solution we're looking for, okay? So first one here, social ads. What we do, pros of this one: faster setup, low tech, cheap, okay, cost per lead. Just remember, social ads is very different to Facebook posts, or, you know, the stuff that you post on Facebook every day. They have a paid ads portion and they have a social media portion. They both work on the same platform, but if you posted something 10 years ago on your Facebook page, everybody would see it. Whereas if you post something on your page now, they only show it to a very small portion of people, because they're a public company and they want to make money. So they make you pay for advertising space to push your, you know, visibility out there, okay? So you will pay a certain amount for the ads to run these specific ads, and they'll be put up in front of people like a giant billboard, and it's either going to get attention or it's not. Cons to this one is a short lifespan, and there's a few more time wasters that come through this, because someone that's just sort of scrolling on their phone and your ad pops up and says you're looking to build a house, they're like, yeah, I guess so. You know, versus someone that's typing it into a box is obviously got a bit more intent, okay? So I've got a template and things you can use for this one. The next one here is your PPC ads or Google ads, okay? This is really where the better quality people come from, okay? Then compared to the social ads, because like I said before, if somebody types in builder near me, or, you know, custom home builder, Auckland, whatever, then they are looking for a solution. And if you can be in front of them as a solution, then you're basically, you know, lining up what they're looking for with a solution that's all going to line up really nicely there. It's really easy for targeting. You can target specific postcodes or suburbs, right? You can only target aspirational suburbs. You can ignore the low decile places. You can get really, really targeted on who you're looking for there. And it's evergreen. And what that means is basically, in theory, you can run this for a long time without it needing to, like, it'll run for a long time as long as you optimize it and keep it working for you. You can run it for a long time compared to the social ads, which you really need to keep on the hamster wheel of refreshing. And they're a lot of work to kind of keep new. Okay. Bad downside to this is it does require landing pages to be built. Okay. And done poorly, they can be expensive. Now,